So, hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about Operation Kaveri, which is done by the Indian Air Force or the Indian Embassy to evacuate the civilians from the Sudan, which is under heavy crisis. Now, here I have PPT which I have created. Now, Sudan, it is an African country which has capital of Khartoum. Alright, the capital of Sudan is Khartoum, and the currency is Sudan pound, and one Sudan pound is equal to 0.14 rupees. All right. Now, what is the Operation Kaveri? Operation Kaveri is a coordinated effort between Indian government and its embassy to ensure the safe return of Indian citizens stuck in crisis affected areas in Sudan. And this evacuation operation was launched on the 24th of April 2013 in response to ongoing violence at the affected zone, and it is named after one of the major rivers in India, Kaveri. Alright, they have named the operation as Kaveri, which is a major river in India, and the Sudan is under the heavy crisis, and this is the coordination between Indian government and the embassy. All right. Now, a team of officials, including Ministry of External Affairs, the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Embassy in Sudan, has been appointed by the Indians to ensure the proper process of evacuation gets followed. During the evacuation, Indians will be transferred from Sudan to capital city of Khartoum, where they will be flown back to India. That means they will be transferred from Sudan to the capital city Khartoum, and then from Khartoum they will be flown back to India. It is an effort done by the Ministry of External Affairs, the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Embassy in Sudan. That means External Affairs, the ministry itself, and the embassy at Sudan, and the Indian Air Force. Now, what is the crisis in Sudan? The military take over the government and power sharing agreement. That means the military has been there's a military coup. Military has taken over the government and the power sharing agreement in April 2019, when Sudan went through a widespread protest that led to overthrow of President Omar al-Bashir power by the military general. After this, a power-sharing body called the Sovereignty Council of led Sudan to election in 2013. Then there have been a military coup, and after the military deployed at Al Abdullah Hamdok led transition government in October 2011, two military and paramilitary generals engaged in a war interfering with a plan for transition to election. That means the military and paramilitary they got engaged in war to interfering with the plan of transition to election. That means they are interfering in the transition to election, and the tentative arrangement for the transition to democracy was achieved in December 2011, but it hit a roadblock after the news of integration of Rapid Support Group (RSF) with Sudan Armed Forces (SAF) was released. All right, that means there was a transition to democracy was achieved in India, but it was hit roadblock after the news of integration of rapid support groups with Sudan armed forces were released. Conflict developed as a result of tension escalating over resources control and RSF integration due to disagreement over the timeline and security sector reform. Now, that means later on, what we can see that the paramilitary and military forces were together against the democracy. All right, but later on they in themselves got fighting in between. Then the dispute arises between the RSF and Sudan army. A dispute began between the RSF and Sudan army over the integration of 10,000 strong RSF officials, and which authority should oversee the process. However, the RSF General Diego putting the process to hold for 10 years. The army said that it is likely to occur in next 2 years, and this dispute has led to tension in Sudan. That means RSF and Sudan has been fighting over the authority that should oversee the process. However, the RSF General Diego putting the process to hold for 10 years. Now, RSF is putting the process for 10 years, and army said that it's likely to occur next 2 years itself. Now, the dispute arises. All right, that means integration of 10,000 strong RSF officials. Dispute began RSF and Sudan Army over the integration of 10,000 RSF, and which authority should over process the whatsoever. Now, who is overseeing the operation? India has established a transit facility in Jeddah. The Minister of State of External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, is in charge of organizing the city evacuation to ensure its smooth running. And why is the rescue named Operation Kaveri? The rescue operation has been named Kaveri to establish a metaphorical significance. All right, metaphorical significance. River Kaveri is one of the largest river in India that flows in the southern state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and the river is considered sacred by the people of the region and is worshipped as goddess Kaveri Amma. All right, and that means it is southern state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Kaveri flows, and it is worshipped as goddess Kaveri Amma, and the name has been given because of its metaphorical significance, and therefore the operation name Operation Kaveri has been established to significance that river reaches their destination despite the barriers and they go through. And here the river is portrayed as mother who will ensure that she will bring her children back to home safely. All right, means the Indian government has been done as a mother who has been helping the children or the citizen over the speech, no matter what the obstacle comes. Now let's talk a little bit more on the RASF. All right. Now, what is Rapid Support Forces? We have already talked about it in our previous time. Now, the fighting between the RSF and the Sudan military has led to crisis in country. Now, India is the process of evacuation people from Sudan, whereas the fierce battle between the military and paramilitary forces are taking place. The army chief is Burshan, and the rapid support chief head is Hamdan. Sorry, Hamdan. That means Burhan and Hamdan. All right. Now the generals are at the lodging head as they fight for control for Sudan major in situation. That means they're both fighting for to have their control over the Sudan. And Burhan and Hamdan joined the forces outsource authority of President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. In 2019, they both fought together to fight the President al-Bashir. But later on, they are fighting together. RSF stronger and a serious challenge to Bushan army. Now RSF is stronger as it has more 10,000 authoritative officers, and Burhan army is little weak. That means they have said for 10 and 2 years the situation which I have talked already about it, the 10 and 2 years. However, the RSF General Diago putting the process to hold for 10 years. Now RSF General is asking to hold the operation for 10 years. The army is saying that in 2 years only itself. All right, and they both are trying to integrate, but RSF is not ready for integration. Now, who are rapid support forces? Now, RSF can trace its roots back to Janjaweed militia, drawn from a group of Arab tribes, primitively based in Western Sudan. So, in Western Sudan, there are Arab tribes. The RSF was actually a militia which started helping the government, and according to United Nations, three uh, 3 lakh people have been killed in the conflict, and US government has termed the violence as the genocide. All right, and the RSF has Hamdan was appointed as his head. And how did the RSF become powerful? The RSF began to expand owing to proximity at Bashir. In 2015, the paramilitary forces, along with Sudan army, began supplying troops to fight in war in Yemen to support the Saudi Arabia. All right. Now here you will understand properly, which you did in Sudan part. And now the RSF began to expand by having the proximity war. And in 2015, the paramilitary forces, along with Sudan army fund, began supplying troops to the fight the war in Yemen to support Saudi Arabia. That means the Sudan paramilitary forces and military forces have been supporting the Saudi Arabia to fight in Yemen, and the United Arab Emirates. In return, Hamdan received money and weapon. That means the Sudan has been helping Saudi Arabia as well as the United Arab Emirates, and they have been receiving money and weapons to fight Yemen. All right, and Now, 2 years later, the forces partnered with Russian mercenary Wagner Group to mine the vast gold reserves in Sudan. All right. Now, the Russians are also together with Sudan. They are the Sudan was helping, RSF was helping the Russian mercenaries, Wagner Group, to mine the vast gold reserves in Sudan, and this further helped the RSF and Hamdan expand their political and economical and political influence. All right, political, economic, and political influence, and resulting in an conflict with country's army chief Burhan. That means RSF is gaining more influence, more political stability, and more economics bifurcations than the army Burhan. Hence, the conflict has been arising, and the both countries, both the military and paramilitaries, have been fighting for control over the Sudan. Now, I hope everything was understandable in this process, and I hope Operation Kaveri is not known by every now. Next in the next video, I will also talk about the ongoing the Israel and Palestine situation, about its past, present, as what can be its future. So thank you everyone for listening. Jai Hind.